Some may say I'm late to the party, but today we'll be talking about making seltzers. I don't know why, but lately I've just been feeling like seltzers. And it's not even summer. Usually seltzers are a summer drink, and for me it's less sugar, it's more health conscious. Therefore, hey, if you're okay with having a beer, stick with your beer. It's fine. Or if you prefer sweet drinks, that's also fine. It took me a while, honestly, to enter the seltzer community. Initially, I found it tasted like nothing, but it's a good way to drink before 5 p.m. I watched multiple videos of making seltzer, and what they all do is use distilled water. Why distilled water? Because this will avoid any blurriness you have, because who wants a blurry seltzer? I mean, we know that it's homebrew and you'd rather have it look like the actual store-bought product as much as possible, and blurriness is a definite no-no. A clear seltzer is key. And I never heard of distilled water in the past, so I just googled where can I get this from, and you can get it from Walmart for $1.88 a liter, therefore really accessible to us all. If you use tap water, there are high chances that your seltzer will be blurry, so just an FYI. Sorry, in Walmart it's $1.28 for 4 liters. And if you're not using tap water, it's best to add 3 grams of calcium chloride and 3 grams of gypsum for flavor. This is for a 5-gallon batch. And honestly, where would I get this? From Amazon. Recipes also require 5 pounds of corn sugar. However, you can also use dextrose, which is another form of sugar. And if you use dextrose, you do not need to boil your sugar because it dissolves easily. And once you're done adding sugar, one of the ways to know how strong your seltzer is going to be, or any alcohol as a matter of fact, is using a hydrometer and a cylinder. And what you do is to put your liquid, including your sugar in it or anything you've added in your liquid, put it inside the cylinder, leave a little space, then you drop in your hydrometer and it's going to give you a reading on your scale. And for seltzer, it's roughly at 1.03, and 1.03 starting gravity means that you'll reach 5% alcohol at the end. You can always make your seltzer stronger if you want. You can go up to 20% seltzers if you want, or beer or wine. You just have to be mindful not to add too much sugar, because too much sugar can stress the yeast, and once yeast is stressed, it'll produce bad flavors. Speaking of flavors, seltzers all have a flavor, whether it's strawberry, whether it's mango, and it's never empowering. It's always a slight aftertaste. And quick tip, what I like to do is mix my seltzer with juice, any kind of juice. Let's say white cranberry juice. You mix both of those together and you get the perfect blend of alcoholized fruity drinks. That's for people who want a little bit more flavor in their seltzers. So when you're producing seltzer, it's recommended to boil it to get rid of the wild yeast, and to boil it for roughly 10 minutes. And it's only once the fermentation is done that you add flavor. Similarly to other alcohol, you usually add the flavor once fermentation is done, because during fermentation a lot of things happen. So the yeast is eating the sugar and you don't want your flavor to get mixed up in that. So once everything is done and you've done your business yeast, then you add sugar and there's no more chemical reactions happening within your batch. And in order for your seltzer to ferment, most of the videos were adding a lot of yeast nutrient. Why? Because there's not a lot of sugar in seltzer. That's what makes it a seltzer. It's more health conscious. And since there's not a lot of sugar for the yeast to eat, the yeast need to be energized, and this is where the yeast nutrients come in. You can add them to your already added pack of yeast, and it should help excite the yeast a little bit. And when we're talking about yeast, so some have added EC1118 to their seltzer. However, a lot of brewers add Kveik Lutra to make their seltzer, and this makes your seltzer less blurry. It's the proper yeast to use to make seltzers. For example, you don't want to use beer yeast when you're making wine, or wine yeast when you're making beer. However, in some cases, they can be intertwined. Like you can use bread yeast. If that's all you have in your pantry, you can use your bread yeast to make alcohol. However, since seltzer is very specific because of the blurriness, the best yeast to use is Kveik yeast, and the name is Lutra. What about fermentation? It typically takes 1 week to ferment your seltzer. And once you're done, you can add flavors by adding extracts. This is usually what I use, liquid extract. So the liquid of the extract blends with the liquid of your alcohol, and therefore there's no powdery substance on top or at the bottom of your jar. However, others have also used chopped fruits And the smaller the chopped fruits, the more surface of the fruits will be exposed to the drink. Therefore, it's best to cut it in small pieces. While you're at it, it's better to use frozen fruits because frozen fruits have easier flavor breakdowns than fresh fruits. And one thing you cannot forget when making seltzer is to carbonate your seltzer, or else it's just flavored water. So this is super important. And what I usually do for carbonation is I put carbonation drops in a container, then I pour my alcohol, close the container, shake it, and I have to leave it there for at least 1 week for the carbonation to take effect. And you have to make sure that there's no air seeping out of these containers, or else the carbonation will not work. However, if you prefer doing burst carbonation, instead of taking 1 week, will only take 15 hours, so less than a day, and you'll have your seltzer ready to go. Drop a comment below and let me know, what type of carbonation methods do you use? Would you rather the quick, easy way that's more expensive, usually it requires machinery, or are you more on the economic side where you don't mind waiting several days for it to fully carbonate? And if you'd like tips and tricks on how to make different types of alcohol, book a class. The link is in the description below. And if you found this video valuable, share with a friend, and don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram. We post more on that platform, and I'll see you in the next video.